Hey there, folks. It's me, Michael Bach, your diversity dude, and it's time for another episode of Monday Morning Musings. Welcome to the new format. Hope you like it. Just a little change, lots more to come, but we thought we'd start with this. And this morning, I want to talk about an article that I read on CBC related to polygamy in the Islamic faith. Now, you may or may not be aware that the Quran, which is the holy document of the Islamic faith, says that it's all right for a man to take a second, third, or fourth wife, provided he is able to treat those wives the same as he would the first wife. And in some parts of the world, this is actually legal, but in Canada, it's not. And this article focuses on the experiences of women who have found themselves as the first wife, with their husband coming home and announcing that they've taken a second wife, and about the experiences and the reality of what's going on in some aspects of the Islamic faith. Let me be very clear that this is not all Muslims. This is a small subset of Muslims who agree with this. Anyway, it got me thinking about a question that I get asked all the time about how far do we have to go in terms of the integration of newcomers? What is our responsibility and what is theirs? And a lot of people would tell you that it's the 80-20 rule, so that the newcomer has to integrate 80% and Canada has to change 20%. And I would argue that it's more like 50-50. So here's why. First of all, the lived experience of everyone and their expectations of what it would be like to live in Canada are very different. An American moving to Canada will have very similar expectations of what life will be like. The language is the same. The political system is relatively the same. So-called values are the same. Admittedly, they'll have to spell everything with a U and start to eat poutine on a weekly basis. But for the most part, their experience is going to be relatively similar. A person moving from, say, Jordan or Korea may have very different understanding and expectations about the world that they're coming into. And so their integration may be far more challenging. I have always said that the rule of law is what matters. So in the case of Canada, things like polygamy are illegal. It's been upheld by the Supreme Court. It is not open to interpretation. Polygamy is illegal. And as far as I know, there is no intention to change that. There are other things like forcing a person into marriage or female circumcision, all illegal. All things that cannot happen in this country. And that's what matters. The rule of law is what matters. And it is implicit on every newcomer that comes to Canada that they follow the rule of law. They need to understand the rule of law and they need to follow it. That said, when you get outside of the rule of law, there's lots of room for interpretation. There's lots of areas where we could be doing a better job to integrate newcomers. Let me give you an example. In Canada, we have two statutory holidays that fall around particular religions, those being Christmas and Easter. However, if you're Muslim and you want to celebrate Eid al-Fitr, which is the last day of Ramadan, then would it not be possible for you to maybe work Easter and take Eid off as your statutory holiday? I think there are things we could do to be working to better integrate newcomers into our society. I think the most important thing is to remember that it's a two-way street, that you're dealing with people who have chosen to come to Canada, and we need to help them integrate. But at the same time, you need to learn about what their expectations are, what they see as important, what they understand, and how can you work together to better integrate that newcomer into our society. So I hope that's been some food for thought. I hope you've enjoyed today's Monday Morning Musing. Remember to connect with me on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, the links of which are down in the section below. I would also encourage you to subscribe to this channel by clicking on the link. And please, we'd love some feedback about the new format. What are things that you would like to hear me talk about? How would you like us to break up Monday Morning Musings to be more interesting? I want your feedback, so please feel free to put your comments down below. That's it for me. I hope you have a fantastic day, And we will see you next week for another episode of Monday Morning Musings. Bye.